The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by ComicTown. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for ComicTown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hi.
And Dave.
I'm back.
Yeah, Dave.
For like 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're all back.
I'm gonna have to leave again halfway through. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Hey,
Just kidding.
Just so you know, little look peek behind the curtain. Last week's episode, Dave did leave, obviously, and we actually recorded the community segment after Dave left, and then I put it in the beginning. So that's why Dave doesn't say anything in the community segment. He might have had opinions on it, but we just don't know.
That was also 2 weeks ago, but
yeah,
who's counting?
Last week we all left, and there was no podcast.
Yeah, it's all jumbled up now, but we're back.
Yeah, we are back. Sorry. That's like a dead week anyway. There's nothing really to talk about. And if there was something big that happened, we didn't see it. So we kind of made an executive decision to skip last week, and just let you guys simmer on the extravaganza. So we're back this week to talk about obviously new standard, some community topics, have a question of the week, sneak in there a little bit, and then talk about what's happening this coming up weekend.
That question of the week also will be touching on some price spikes over the weekend. So
yeah.
Just,
we'll
wet the whistle.
We'll get into that most certainly. But let's go ahead and move into the community segment. Dave wanted us to say that he changed his sleeper to Exert Influence from Bring to Light, which is a valiant effort.
Yeah.
We are nullifying your sleeper pick.
Whatever.
It is null and void.
You can't just make sleepers and then change it all willy-nilly
All right,
halfway through
look.
the week.
I'll be honest. I haven't been reading a lot of articles, so I didn't realize how much hype the Bring the Light was getting. So I'm like, okay, all right, that's fair. That's like a legitimate good card. All right, I'll pick Exert Influence because I figured like that'd be a good sideboard card. And I know Mike was talking it up about how good it was, so I was just like, all right, we'll go with that. That's like a legitimate sleeper.
It definitely,
how is that null and void?
because you changed it.
You changed it like the week after.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Then I'll keep my original one.
No, you don't get one.
Oh, whatever, dude. Okay, Atarka.
I've never gloated over winning for that. I didn't. Whatever. Just because I'm better at picking sleepers than you.
I think what we have to do from now on is we're gonna have to show each other our sleepers to make sure it's okay before it's out there.
You make it sound like it'd be really easy to do and something that we should obviously have done in the past. Oh,
Did we do that?
no, I'm saying logically.
I think
this
maybe
sounds
we
great.
should just say you can't pick a mythic rare.
I mean,
Maybe
I don't know if
maybe
that's really true. I could have picked the Great Aurora for Origins. I think people would have said, "Okay, yeah, that's a sleeper."
yeah, it's still
It's still waiting for the green the green time spiral to break out.
Yeah, I don't think that's
It's only a matter of time.
Yep, sure.
It's just like Rally of the Ancestors. It took a little while. Needed the right support.
I mean, either way, Exert Influence's highest, I think, was 12th. This is in Tom Ross. I think Tom Ross is the highest finisher with that deck. And then Fathom Feeder was 15th, Joe Lissette, either 15th or 16th. So our sleepers did all right. Morgan, how did your sleeper do?
It didn't do anything, turns out.
Still asleep.
Very much so. Still just
What was your
Comatose.
still just snacking away, not really doing anything.
What was your sleeper, Morgan?
Smothering Abomination, the 4/3 flyer for 4.
It's like do the fat kid thing, just I'm gonna eat all this ice cream because no one played with me.
yeah, roughly. So that's okay though.
And Keller's Unified Will did not. Honestly, Allies did nothing this weekend. Actual nothing.
Yeah.
Unified Will?
Unified Force? Not have to go.
Yeah, I was not the counter.
Unified Allied Token Generator.
Yes, correct.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Again, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
We'll get
Pro Tour.
Yeah, we'll get into standard. This week seemed like a very level 0 week for standard.
Sure,
but
we'll
get into that
I
later.
don't disagree with that. So let's jump into the community topics. So some things that happened while we were away. Evan Irwin is no longer with Star City Games, which is pretty interesting. Now, he of course has a pretty successful Patreon campaign for his Forgotten Lore series on YouTube. So he's actually still continuing to do that. He's in Urza's Saga right now, which is actually pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. Especially for someone like me who I just didn't play Magic then. So I think I might have bought like booster packs of Urza Saga, but I certainly did not, play in any sort of realm of relevancy. So it's interesting to like learn about the story, and like today he released one that was about like the actual impact of the set on like the actual game. So that's pretty interesting. But other than that, he's kind of I don't know if he said anything more about what he's doing because I haven't really followed his Twitter, but he's been pretty mum on that. He said that there was more to come after he made his announcement, but we are still waiting.
Yeah, and this was from a couple weeks ago now. It was like
Yeah.
the end of September at some point. But yeah, it was really surprising to me to hear that. I mean, it's when you think of Star City Games, I personally I feel like he's just part of that brand. You know what I mean? Like he's one of the big reasons for just this explosion of Star City Games, being what it is today. As
Yeah.
far as the open series and just the branding and the website and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah,
So,
you definitely feel like he was a voice of Star City Games. He's obviously a very excitable human being.
Yeah.
And he brought a lot of energy to that brand. So it's kind of interesting to see him part ways with the company.
yeah, and hopefully he'll continue to do the Magic Show, which is kind of that was his original
Yeah.
baby. He was kind of the first person to do a web, I guess, web series, of videos for Magic. So yeah, I mean it's kind of surprising, but if it's from what it sounds like it was like a mutual parting of ways. It wasn't like he didn't sound like he got fired or anything like that. So we'll see where he goes from here, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more content from him going forward.
I mean, obviously he's also on the Magic Mike's podcast. He does that with
Right.
Ruben and Aaron Campbell. So hopefully, I imagine that obviously he's still going to continue doing that show as well. So plenty of ways to get your Evan Irwin fill, no matter what.
Right.
Also to note, Sean McLaren was the Modern Super League champion, so congrats to him.
He's a champion.
Champion. Yes, congratulations. Moving on. So today, actually, we got an announcement that is pretty interesting in all honesty, and it on the Magic Online homepage, they announced that they are going to be starting what is called the Magic Online Feedback Program. So basically, from what I read, in a nutshell, this is going to be a series of surveys given out to participants in the program that are going to be a bit more in-depth about basically changes that they are trying to get feedback for implementations on Magic Online. So instead of something that might be a little bit more general that already exists right now, this will be more of a laser focus on certain aspects of Magic Online. And in my opinion, any way that you can potentially get any more in-depth focus on providing specific feedback about that program, the better. So this is something that, like I said, has only been a thing, at least announced for a very short amount of time. So we'll see where it goes, and hopefully it brings about some very positive changes for Magic Online. Obviously, there are a lot of people that have very vocal opinions about the program, so hopefully they all participate in this, or can participate in this, and will have their voices heard and get appropriate feedback for the program.
Yeah, hopefully this is the start of something that will actually change Magic Online for the better. I think for basically ever since current version was released, it's just been one thing after another, problems and people vowing not to play but then playing it anyway, all kinds of stuff. So hopefully this will get it moving in the right direction, and I guess we'll see where it goes.
But more information as that comes out. It looks like they will be releasing surveys each month. They will. It looks like there'll be like 2-part surveys with baseline questions, and then like maybe more specific questions. It seems rather in depth for something that they are trying to do, and they, the article they have is very very in depth on what they want to do. with the entire program. So I suggest that you go to the Magic. It's not on the Daily MTG. It's on the Magic Online homepage. So go there, check out the article, and definitely be informed about it. So moving on past that. There were some pre-releases that happened a while back. Obviously, the set released last weekend, so
Feels like forever ago.
yeah, it feels like ancient history. But Mike and I both played in some pre-releases, and they were fun. They're surprisingly fun.
Surprisingly fun?
Yeah, I mean, like, new limited formats are obviously pretty interesting to kind of figure out, and I was, surprised that, it was the first sort of unguided experience that we've had for some time. We didn't have to pick colors for our box or anything. You just got 6 packs and a sweet pre-release card potentially, or bad one. I don't know. Could be it could be Prism Array.
Some better than others, right, Morgan?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you get?
For my second pre-release, I got an Obnixilis, which is pretty hot.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
It's pretty good.
I had a March from the Tomb.
Did you play some allies?
No.
Oh,
I also got a Painful Truth. This is a little bit better, but
Yeah,
not an
that's good.
Obnixilis.
That's true. It's not Obnixilis. What was I forget my other pre-release rare was. It wasn't very exciting. It was decent though. But I can't remember what it was. Anyway, but it's the first time that we've had just 6 packs and like you just open and build. And I was just surprised to see how well the set kind of goes together. Sealed, I could see being a little bit rocky for certain strategies. I felt like I didn't have the right balance of ingesters to processors a lot of the time. Like, I'd have really good processors. Like, one of my rares commonly seen was like Blight Herder, and it's like, this is an awesome rare, but I don't have enough ingesters to really turn this card on. So, I mean, sometimes playing a vanilla 4/5 for 5 is all right in a sealed deck, but you really want that payoff with that card when I just couldn't craft decks that necessarily could pull that off consistently at the very least.
Fair enough. No, I really enjoyed the format. I really like just playing sealed deck in general, so I was very happy to see it be a regular sealed deck. I will say I don't like the ingest mechanic in limited. Just haven't played with it. Not that it doesn't function the way it's supposed to, but limited is a format where like certain cards like make your deck, and in this format where like you can be stretching for playables depending on how you end up going. Like ingesting like critical cards, like it's not a skill. You know what I mean? Like I had an opponent definitely like, and this is a punt on their end, but we were playing 2-Headed Giant, and the opponent played Conduit of Ruin, which searches for a colorless creature, casting cost 7 or greater, and puts it on top of your library.
Oh.
So I attacked him for 1, and ingested his Ulamog.
Oh.
With
cool.
a Mistshroud or whatever, the Stormcrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was good for me. Like, he didn't pay attention to the board state, but at the same time, like, it's really awkward that you would have a rare that like puts it on top of your library, like in a format where it's like, oh, you have a 1/4 unblockable that ingests. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, and there's no good removal spell to kill that thing. Oh man, that's weird. It was just, I don't know. It felt really clunky. It's just like, oh, I drafted these cards and now I don't get to play with them because you luckily hit ingest.
Yeah.
Or think about what this format wants you to splash for colors to play Converge. Oh, you hit my one basic planes. Oh, I guess I can't play my white cards now. I have all these evolving wilds. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, cool.
It's a really weird tension on like deck building.
So I'm gonna cut you off, Dave. Funny thing with that 1/4, you can completely disregard it, or you can completely disregard it.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah.
One's a removal spell. One's being apathetic, which I am towards Morgan.
Right. Yeah, it's funny that you say you don't like ingest for limited, because I mean I don't really like it for constructed. So it's
okay, hold on. When you say you don't like it for constructed, though, you mean like power level wise, right?
Right. It just seems like
I'm not talking about that. Like I don't. I agree with you. I don't think, like I said, it would have to be all in for ingest to work in standard.
Well, power level wise, and it's just like an awkward mechanic. Like I don't really. I mean, multiple people have said this, but I don't really like that they're using the exile zone as kind of like a second graveyard. It's once it's exiled, it should just be gone.
I like it. I think for the game to survive, you have to play in that design space sometimes. That I think you don't go there very often, and it sort of feels like weird because you're right. Like, you shouldn't have all these zones that matter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the more like I think the mechanic is designed well, with the exception of like it does punish people for not playing with their cards. And we're talking about like new players too, like people who just like to draft. You know what I mean? Like half the fun is like opening something stupid and like getting to play it. Like, oh man, that gets this payoff. And like the first time that person gets their their first pick bomb rare like ingested, they're just like, oh, cool play experience. I feel really positive about this. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of feel bads, like just like that whole like undercurrent muttering by the end of this format, where it's like, man, I'm really tired of getting my spells ingested. Like, oh, you played this bomb rare. I have 3 answers in my deck, except for you ingested 2 of them casually on your way to playing your bomb rare. So good on ya. You did it. Your skill, you know what I mean, of randomly hitting a card off the top of my library. You know what I mean? Like that's awkward, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't help that blue is definitely one of the best colors in the limited format.
Absolutely, and has all the good ingesters.
Has 2 of the better ingesters that you can possibly play with. So it's not like you're not going to be seeing those cards. People are going to be playing Mist Intruders and Benthic Infiltrators.
I mean, I definitely first game I played in the format, I milled my opponent out.
Yeah, that's
we
awkward.
played a long game, but I got like probably like 8 or 9 ingest triggers. So like we played this long game, and he was just out of a library. It's just like this is not how I want to start with that. I had fun playing, I had fun building the deck, but I do see myself like not enjoying ingest for very long.
Yeah. I also have done just a couple of drafts. Did a couple of drafts in Indy. Cut to the chase. I didn't make day 2 in Indy. But the couple of drafts I did, like I was very surprised at how well the draft environment was to understand. Obviously, it's new. A lot of the people hadn't necessarily had an opportunity to draft the format over the weekend that were in my draft pods, but it was fun. It was fun, like being able to actually draft the set, and I didn't think it would necessarily lend itself to be. And with that, you can, work towards actually making some of your processor cards be able to be paid off by drafting correctly. And you could definitely tell that blue was just the best one.
Like, didn't you and Keller both try to push blue, like force blue, and made the finals of multiple drafts?
Yeah, Keller and I, did separate drafts. Both of our drafts we went blue-red, and both of them we died in the finals of the draft.
Like, it's like she lost in the finals, but I think it's funny. It's like, oh, like Keller's like, I haven't done anything in this format, and I'm like, well, force blue, and he's like, I like doing that, and it was really good. So.
Yeah.
Enough about a limited format that like some of you might be going to Wisconsin this weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you are going to go to Australia. If you are, good on you. But
congratulations.
Let's move to competitive.
All right. So over the weekend, we had a Star City Games Open in lovely Indianapolis, Indiana. It was a total of 432 players. Now, is that low? Did that seem right on the money for player attendance for the Opens as of recent?
No, it's low.
It's
low.
It felt low. It didn't feel like that room was very full when we started. We started early, by the way. I didn't appreciate that. My deck list hadn't been filled out yet.
Yeah, that was weird. They actually started like almost 10 minutes early. They had like people like seating for like players meeting, and it wasn't like it's gonna be posted till 9. It was like, please find your seat. That was weird.
Yeah.
No, I think it was small. I also think though, like we were in a different ballroom than we normally are in Indy. I think they planned for it to be smaller, so that's interesting. I think obviously the first week of the format, that's something to be considered, especially with we'll look at these deck lists. So many of them featuring like 4 of staples. That's important.
Yeah, it's definitely just a weird week whenever you have week 1, just because I feel like you have a lot of people that are excited about the format, but then you probably have like an equal amount of people that can't obtain the cards that they need.
Yeah,
so
that is the hard
kind of
part.
Awkward. But
so it was kind of interesting. And there were PPTQs that were going on. I don't know if there are necessarily any in the area, but I could see that driving people away. Depending on what you want, especially if it's a sealed PTQ or PPTQ or something like that.
Yeah, they did have some of those, across the nation.
So
across the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably across the world too. I suppose.
But I mean, it was definitely a fun tournament to go to. It was interesting to see all of the interesting decks that were there. In all honesty, we were going there with something that was a little bit hip and fresh for what we were playing, and people did not disappoint. I definitely played round one against a card that I was playing in my deck, but did not expect anyone else to be playing in their deck, which was definitely sort of refreshing to be like, oh, so your testing kind of resulted the same way that this card is probably good.
Yeah,
It was pretty interesting. So, but before we talk about our experiences, let's kind of maybe take a look at some of the deck lists that didn't do well in the tournament.
It didn't do well.
That did do well.
But you said didn't.
I meant did.
Some decks that didn't do well, bad ones. Sorry.
Thank you. So
This
Brian,
has been a news update.
so Brian DeMars was the winner of the tournament, defeating Michael Majors. DeMars was playing Atarka Red, which many had predicted as being a deck that's still viable once BFZ came out, whether it be a Tarka Red or a Green Red landfall variant. Clearly, very very low to the ground. Atarka Red seemed to be what did the trick. Now there was an article in Star City Games that I believe Chapin wrote that was basically calling this a combo deck with how it was built.
I would agree. If you look at the day 2 metagame breakdown, Atarka Red did not do well at this tournament. I played it round 1, crushed it. But his version played the game a little bit differently than the other ones were. And, I'll talk about my personal experience here.
Sure.
But you could see that it had a way to put away some games that the other decks just didn't have access to. So I think for this tournament, his version was definitely the best. I don't think it gets better from here. Like, the deck's still really powerful, but once everyone is playing around Double Strike, then, you know what I mean? But I think compared to all the other Atarka Red lists that I saw, which we had seen a couple of different lists for that, his was definitely the one that was like the set up the best to sort of prey upon the metagame.
Yeah, I somewhat disagree with you. I think it'll still be a powerful option going forward. I think
Not what I said.
you said it wasn't going to be good. Better. It's not going to be as good going
said it was gonna
forward
get
because
better.
people are going to. Okay, sure. Okay,
Distinct. It's a distinct thought.
so it's going to. Okay, whatever.
It's going to stay the same in a format that's going to continue shifting, meaning it's probably not good.
Okay. I mean, by his own admission, DeMars said that he, in his interview after he had won, he already was talking about certain cards that he would change. So even this list, he said was not basically optimized. But yeah, I mean, if I didn't play this weekend, unfortunately, but if I had, I would have played a version like this or maybe Splashing Black. I think Atarka's Command is one of the best cards in the new format, or so far from what we've seen. We'll see how that works out at the Pro Tour, but I think it's just it's kind of reminds me of the Tom Ross red decks where they really put you in awkward positions and there's a lot of things to play around. So I like this list, and I think it can be tuned to be better going forward.
I like it as well, but I do think I just don't know how well you can continue to rely on that combo. Like, it's got to be the kind of thing that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about the Teamer Battle Rages to be honest with you, but the Become Immense is, we saw Martin Dang play one Become Immense in the deck that he won the Pro Tour with, and I think now with the increased number of fetches that you can play, just because you
and
have
having
access.
an actual dual land, like you get to have green when you want green.
Right.
I mean, you just do.
I think it's going to make that card a lot easier to cast, or even cast multiples of them if you need to. So I mean that's definitely just a scary card. It's basically 1 mana 6 damage.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So
And I mean, when you pair that with the fact that all of our instant speed removal is poor,
It's gotten a lot worse.
is poor,
Right.
is bad. I don't feel as scared as investing, my graveyard on, this +6 spell that I'm gonna get blown out with if I don't have that much risk anymore. So, yeah, the card gets better when there's bad removal.
do we want to talk at all about like the specific cards in the list, or did you just want to?
I think, like, honestly, overall, nothing was too surprising. I will say that, like, Chandra was interesting. When it flipped really quickly, it did some good work, but I do wonder, like, it being this awkward, like, 3-drop Like I wonder. I got to see it one time. I don't know how it was for him all day. If you watched how it was, and he said that I know he said specifically the slide runner was a little awkward. He only played a one of, but like he definitely wasn't playing the land sources. The landfall deck was. So
Yeah,
it's good with like become immense and stuff. Like trample being built in is great for that card, but otherwise like it's like if you're not hitting a land every turn, then that's a little underwhelming.
yeah. This doesn't seem like the list that would optimize the slide runner as well as some of the other ones. And we did see multiple red-green landfall decks, which were more, focused on playing, a lot more lands, a lot more fetch lands that you could oftentimes get the double pump on that guy. This deck was only playing 21 lands, so it's a lot of times you're gonna get once you get to 3, you might not hit another land drop for a while, which
Yeah.
we saw that happen a couple times. So it made the slide run a little awkward. Just 2-1 trample for 2, not that great.
He also had 4 hanger rack walkers coming out of the board, which was sort of interesting that he could sort of like shift a little bit in some like really heavy attrition matchups. Also seems like a great card to have access to. Like if you're playing against like Foul Tongue and Vacation, like that deck really wants to not get itself set back too far by that card. So
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna make me sacrifice a guy? Sure, I'll just get all these stoppers,
I mean,
and then
even if you're just
play
getting-
then I'll
yeah.
play a Tarkus command.
yeah, like even if
Oh.
you're just getting one and like, but it's also not killing another relevant guy. Like it's a lot better to just get rid of your 1/1 and get a 1/1 flyer than it is to like only have to sack like like your Swift Spear or something. So.
Mhm. Yeah, something more relevant.
But yeah, so definitely think this is a good list. Instead, out of the rest of it's like nothing. If you go look at the way this works out, like pretty much no other Tarka Red deck did really well, which is a testament to one. I mean, he played the deck brilliantly, pretty much all day. But 2, again, just like how he positioned his deck versus some of the other traditional lists.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely we saw, and we'll get into some of these other lists, but there were just a ton of just these 4-color good stuff decks, and those decks are really good. Once you can kind of get into the game and you can set up, you get all your colors going. But if you stumbled at all, or if you're missing a color or something like that, and you can't come out of the gates smoothly, then this Atarka Red deck is just going to eat you up. And it's kind of built to it's built for speed. It can kill you on turn 4 pretty easily. So. We saw a lot of these matchups where DeMars, he beat Jerry Thompson twice, and he,
Did you beat him twice? I
Yeah.
thought Thompson beat him in the Swiss. I'm
did
pretty
Thompson
certain
beat him in the
Thompson
Swiss?
beat him in the Swiss.
Okay, I thought he beat
I'm-
him
I'm-
twice.
I'm-
He played him twice.
I
thought he
mean,
won both matches.
they don't have any actual write ups of any of these, so I can't check. I'm really certain that he beat him in the Swiss.
Okay, well,
I think that was his 3rd loss.
DeMars won in the.
In the
the
yeah,
top
no,
eight.
obviously, yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
Where it
I thought he won.
counted.
I thought he won the other one.
But even that match was really close. So
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the 4 and even 5-color lists that we saw weren't. It's week 1. People are trying things, and
I thought it was really interesting that the one card that really I thought like wasn't there that I know most of the other Targa Red decks were still playing some number of was Exquisite Firecraft, and that was interesting that he like there. I mean, Jamoka's command was everywhere, and like that's a card that just like plays really poorly into Jamoka's command. Like I'm going to tap out on my turn for this sorcery and let you just like you just lose the game if you get Jamoka's command there. Like fight a guy, prevent that spell. I get to untap. So like his deck isn't set up to let that happen. And I thought that was it's an interesting like just like a 1 card difference that's just like I'm not even going to try this card right now. So it's interesting.
yeah, I mean, this list with the battle rages and the become immense, it was focused a little bit more on kind of going wide or swarming, getting the damage in that way versus just the direct burn.
Right.
So
Cool.
Yeah. Now, Michael Majors was also in the finals. He was playing Green White Megamorph. So it was kind of funny that you had all these 4-color and 5-color lists, and the finals were 2 guilds, if you will. And
I don't know how I feel about his deck. I said I was thinking like because we were like watching this as we were driving home, and I was like, man, your deck has to be great to just like be able to freely play Siege Rhino and just decide I don't want to play Siege Rhino. And like from what I saw, his deck could do some pretty impressive things, but I don't know how much obviously the mana base being fine, but I don't know how much it actually gained by just like not playing like Rhino. So this is interesting.
yeah, I mean, he was on camera a bunch, and from what I saw, I mean, the deck was pretty impressive. Definitely was a lot better than you would think against like a lot of these control matchups or like grindy Abzan decks. Um, Especially the evolutionary leaps on the board
Yeah, those
were
were
just
doing
like
work for him.
unreal. So I mean, this is obviously very close to kind of the green-white Kibler list that we saw from the previous format. Really only lost a few cards in the rotation. I mean, it lost Elvish Mystic and Elspeth. I think they played a couple of those before, but for the most part, the deck is intact.
Yeah, you do gain a pretty good one in Gideon Ally of Zendikar.
I think this is probably the best Gideon deck that I saw all day.
Yeah,
Just like in a way that it could like abuse every angle of it, like making tokens and then sacking them to Evolutionary Leap was insane.
just
You know,
attacking with
attacking
it
was fine, and then just honestly, like when you had a bunch of Hangerback Walkers and other like value guys, like or even like Den Protector, like the perma +1 was really relevant. So you saw it come up. You played Esper Dragons in the semifinals, and you saw him like have Silumgar, like his opponent have Silumgar, like which is normally like the LOL card against like Hangerback Walker, but all of a sudden you have Gideon emblems, and it's like, oh wait, oh no, sir, these softwares are 2/2s, they're not going to just die here. So it changed the entire dynamic of that matchup just by having that emblem out there. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and more than once I saw him, be able to plus Gideon attack in, even if it wasn't, even if it, I guess like instead of suiciding a creature in order to raid a Wingmate Rock, he was able to like plus Gideon crash in. Maybe he hit his opponent, maybe not, but in either case, was able to play the Wingmate Rock after, which is usually a nice play, especially again in these grindy matchups. So.
Gideon also the perfect creature to cast and fight with Dromoka's command.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He pretty much always wins the fight. So. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with this list. It's really not that surprising to see something like this do well, considering we had almost the same exact list in the previous format. So you see it kind of poured over. Not sure how this one's going to hold up going forward, because again, this isn't really anything new. So. We'll kind of see where the format goes from here. Maybe this is here to stay. Maybe the format's going to go away from this. It's hard to say, but I mean, I think like if you're going to an FNM or a PPTQ or something this weekend, I don't think you can go wrong playing something like this. It's just a very solid deck.
Sure. So do you want to talk Black Sand or Black Sky or Jet Sky Dark or
a lot of these decks have very weird names, but I guess like you have to take it like I guess they have to name it so that it makes sense. So like Jet Sky Black is like they have a couple lists that are
like Dark Jet Sky or I don't know. Somebody said that there's Jet Sky Green, so like that should be like Woody Jet Sky.
Yeah, yeah. Sam Stoddard suggested that we have traditional nomenclatures for all these things. So it should be I think dark, light, foggy, woody, and I forget the other one, like steamy or something like that. I don't know.
Watery.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Steamy Jet Sky. Turn up the heat.
Well, I don't know. That would just mean like he's playing extra red spells.
Yeah, he's playing more burn.
Yeah, so we have two of these, dark Jeskai lists. So Jeskai Splashing Black,
and they're both really different, actually.
Yeah. So fourth place is Adam Varner, and we see the reason that he is wanting to, look to play Black is Crackling Doom, which is fairly obvious. It's an instant speed removal spell that doesn't suck, and Butcher of the Horde actually showing up as a one of. Now, everyone I think on this podcast has been a fan of that card at least at one time or another.
We're all a little partial to Butcher of the Horde.
So anytime he shows up and we think that guy might be playable, it brings warmth to our hearts. It's a one of here. It may or may not have been relevant. I mean, he doesn't have much necessarily to really do with it, except maybe sack some ally tokens to it to give it some special abilities or anything like that.
I'm really excited by the prospect of sacking Hangerback Walker.
Oh yeah, that's the other big thing.
That's kind of sweet.
That's kind of the big thing there, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, 4 Hangerback Walker in this list. Obviously is pretty good with Butcher of the Horde. We also see Gideon show up in this list as a 3 of. as well as Dragon Master Outcast is a 2 of. Now
This card was like popular this weekend.
this was some tech.
Yeah,
Now
I don't really
obviously,
understand that one.
so obviously you look at it in the
good.
you look on the surface and you go, well, that's a weird card to have. But it combos really well with this card called Ojutai's Command. So it also goes well with Jace, because I was reading some articles today where it's like, well, you're playing 4 of Jace in your list. If you draw this early, you just discard it, and then you wait till you have 6 lands, and you're like, end of turn, bring it back, draw a card.
I know you're making a face here, but this was actually
Yeah.
the tech all weekend.
For sure.
And it was good.
Yes.
All right.
The removal is that bad that when this guy comes back on turn 6, like if it just makes 1 dragon, like now, like what are you gonna do? Kill the dragon? Because no one's coming next turn. What are you gonna do? Spend your removal spell on the 1/1? Because there's a dragon in play. So I'm just like, it's the best thing in the world. And yeah, it's definitely not like you're not excited to be like, all right, I'm gonna get in there with my outcast. But again, you're probably never casting it. You're just starting it to Jace.
So let me get this straight. So the best case scenario is it's completely useless until you have 6 lands, so you discard it.
So are
And then
6
you
drops.
you need another card to bring it back. All right. I don't know, man. I'm not really
you could
buying
also
it.
just draw it then on turn 6. Like that's you can cast it late
Yeah,
in
but
the
then
game.
you still have to wait a turn just to get your dragon. I don't know. I get it. Like I get like the synergy, but I don't know if that's actually good.
It may be too cute, but it
Yeah,
definitely
like-
did well this weekend, and it just indicative of removal right now.
Yeah, for
So-
sure. And that was just a thing that was happening, which is fine. I mean, we kind of laughed when Outcast was reprinted, but apparently,
Yeah.
what do we know?
Knowing my recent track record of evaluation, this will probably end up winning the Pro Tour. So.
Any card
worry
that touches a Jace, Dave automatically thinks is bad. Oh, so you play it with Jace and that makes it good? I don't understand. Because Jace can actually just like turn like things. He's an alchemist. He can just turn things to gold,
Yeah, he's got that Midas touch.
including himself.
Yeah, apparently. There was also another, Jeskai Blacklist, as we alluded to, piloted by, what is it, Clay Spricklemeyer. And
Yeah, sure.
So a special shout out to Clay. He's a good friend of the show, Elliot Mork.
yep,
Definitely, they worked on the design for this deck, and I was harassing Elliot about his deck because I did not like it very much. He did not like mine. I won our personal battle of doing well in the tournament, but his protege on this list managed to pull it in the top 8.
yeah.
He was real nice and real just like I don't know. He was just like upbeat all day.
Very excitable kid. Couldn't
So-
keep him down.
So he had a pretty sweet like super long feature match against like Ali Eldrazi. Like he had a good weekend.
And Trazi, but that's fine.
Eldrazi.
Sure, that one.
What's the difference at this point?
Yeah, none.
He was
Probably
playing
not.
Eldrazi, by the
That's
way.
true.
So quick
was-
aside, we decided that's the new Dr. Seuss book because Ali Eldrazi's Eldrazi's.
Yeah, and Trazi's Eldrazi's.
It looks like one Eldrazi, 2 Eldrazi, right?
Yeah.
Red Eldrazi, blue Eldrazi. Yeah, it was really good.
Black Eldrazi.
So
We have those now. So
yeah,
that
exactly.
makes sense.
but yeah, no, good on him. His list definitely is a little bit different.
Yeah, he's playing more black. He's got 1 Tassiger. He's got Kolaghan's Command, as well as the Crackling Dooms.
Yeah, we talked about this list afterwards. I was talking to Elliot about it, and it's interesting. It's got a lot of powerful things. We definitely felt like it was a really bad Abbott deck, and I think he agreed afterwards. Like if you look here, there's not a lot of Abbott's flipping and getting done. Like you're hoping to hit a land most of the time with Abbott.
Now, I do have to say that Clay disagreed with Elliot and thought that Abbott was fine, because his argument was, sometimes you are just playing Abbott and just getting in there, and that's what he did against. He said that's what he did against Ollie. Is he just played Abbott, and Abbott went to town on Ollie for a bit. So maybe this deck is looking at Abbott in a different way than what we're typically used to seeing.
So my argument then would be, isn't Seeker better? That would be my argument. Is I think I'd want Seeker in a format full of Atarka Red. And again, I don't know. I didn't play the deck. I'm watching it and watching Elliot play it, and him having some awkward things like the spells here are so good. I'm gonna feel really bad every time I flip a Crackling Doom. And now it's sitting in exile, so I can't even I can't even Jace it back later.
Mm-hmm.
Like that feels awkward to me. Whereas I'd be much happier to go turn to Seeker the way, and the next turn Crackling Doom, because I've done that, and that feels so good.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're just bringing back good memories now.
You know that warm and fuzzy feeling
That
inside.
was
Man.
actually just a year ago that
Man,
that happened.
Mario,
We
baby,
could-
come back.
We could, baby, come back.
You can blame it all on me.
Oh man, I was wrong.
Okay, live without you. Bow, bow.
Okay, we can't. We're gonna get sued. Someone's gonna
I will say
strike
they're
us for copyright
Nobody's
infringement.
suing us for that.
they're
trust
cool
me.
tech
It's
that
like
we definitely
horrible
like.
singing.
While they'd also played a Dragon Master Outcast, which was sweet, they played 2 Felidar Cubs on the board, and I really like this because, like,
Yeah.
again, if you wanted a 2-drop that attacked, Felidar Cub does that just fine. Kills, a lot, and there were a number of decks running around this format that were just deciding that Stasis Snare and Silk Wrap were the place to be. So having a card that takes out. We saw Master of the Unseen on the weekend. We saw From Beyond on the weekend. We saw, obviously, Outpost Siege on the weekend. Like, oh, kill this? Oh, you got another one? Cool. Ojuchai's Command. Give back a Felidar Cub. So that was sweet, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I do like that this deck has treasure cruises in it as well. I think the only I guess criticism I would have is that the spell suite seems very all over the place. Like 2 Crackling Dooms.
Oh, this is
2
a week
Jeskai
1
Chunks.
deck. 2, 2, 2,
Yeah,
2,
oh
2,
yeah,
2, 2.
It's definitely like a weak one. So like I feel like as we move into the format and we kind of see how it's going to shape up, I think like this can be kind of focused a little bit better to be what the metagame is going to shape up to be.
I would agree.
So yeah, I mean definitely week 1. If you don't really know what's going to show up, like something like that is okay. But moving forward, you definitely want to kind of tighten that up to fight
Like,
what
you
you
can
expect.
see where the stress is here on this deck. Like you say you like Treasure Cruise, but like if you look, there's like 3 cruises and a Tassiger, but then you're also
Yeah.
playing like Jace's and Kolaghan's commands and Ojuchai's commands. So like you want to cast these spells for full value, but you also want to leave things so that your cards can interact in an effective manner. Like again, like good on Clay for doing really well with this deck, but I know that some of the stuff we discussed with Elliot, like the deck can do some awkward things as well as some really powerful things. So I definitely think this is not where the list would go. There's going to be changes here, but I mean, it's still cool to see sort of like, again, both of them are Jeskai Black, but I mean, and I'm telling you, be careful. Like, if you really want to delve into deck lists and you're looking at these lists even while we're talking about it, like Abzan Aggro is listed so many times, but actually, a ton of them have like
A lot of them are like 4 color.
like 4 color, have various like sideboard cards, and if you just go, oh, these are all Abzan Aggros, like, heck, I know Jesse Hefner's list, which is like down low on the list near mine. He played 4 Scythe Leopard as a 1-drop of choice and it's listed as Abzan Aggro. All right, and he's like 2 slots away from me, and I'm playing 4 Skyrider Elf, and I'm listed as Abzan Aggro. We are not the same deck, so it's important if you really are looking for lists, look at all of them.
Yeah, and a quick aside, Star City Games, you might have to up your nomenclature for naming these decks, because, man, this format, it could get a lot diverse, and you can't just be, like, throwing everything into one basket, man. People don't get that. You gotta freshen it up a bit. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's like if you look at they posted the top 64 list. It's like first, second, third is Atarka Red. Okay, we know what that is. Green, White, Megamorph. Okay, Esper Dragons. Okay, sure. And then after that, it's just you don't even know. You're gonna have to just click on it to see what it is.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
The name is not gonna tell you a whole lot.
So do we want to talk about Jerry Thompson's list?
Sure.
Yeah.
People were asking. What's really funny? People were asking for this list. He actually posted it this week. The title of the article was "The Deck I'm Going to Play in Indy." So people were like tweeting like SCG Live and like Cedric like, "Can we get a list for this deck?" And he's like, "If you'll just go ahead and subscribe to Premium, you can look at that list right now." And I'm
Oh,
like,
man.
how well done."
Yeah, it's pretty good. So this is kind of what a lot of people had been talking about was this Bring to Light card, and how it seemed kind of like odd at first, but then people were like, oh, let's just make a toolbox deck. And it's basically what this is. When we take a look at it, we see such standard all stars as Clever Impersonator, Guiltleaf Winnower, and various other odd one-ofs, but when you tie them all together with Ugin's Insight, also another
Ugins.
Ugin's Insight, when you kind of tie them all together with Bring the Light, and you suddenly have this awesome toolbox deck, it starts to get pretty interesting in all honesty. So yeah, I mean, we see Jace and Siege Rhino getting along just fine, seemingly. Along with a couple of Nissa Basswood Seer and a Silumgar Drifting Death. just
Sure, why not?
for funsies, I guess.
It's a very odd collection. There.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
Like they never have teamed up together.
No,
They're
this
kind of
is
like their own.
this is one weird super group that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Oh, yeah. This list is pretty cool, but again, it's kind of. I don't even know if the bring to light package is really all that necessary. Like, it's definitely, you can do some cool things. Like, you can go get the one of Guilt Leaf Winnower if you need to kill something. Or...
I think that's the wrong part I'd like to focus on. It can do those things. It's supposed to cast rhinos.
Oh yeah,
it's the only point of the deck.
Oh yeah, a ton of times he just cast the Siege Rhino into Bring to Light, getting Siege Rhino into Bring to Light, getting Siege Rhino.
There was an alternate. There's an alternate art Siege Rhino going around Reddit today that was just like a bunch of Siege Bring to Light that had a bunch of like Siege Rhino heads all over it. It's just like it was a tribal sorcery Rhino. But like if you like play your Jace turn 2 and then you're like, oh look, Rhino, and then you like flip my Jace and like Bring to Light for a Rhino, then you're like flashback this Bring to Light, get a Rhino. Man, and then you could even like get Guilt Leaf Winnower to kill a Rhino. Like, man, my Rhino's better than your Rhinos.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I agree that Siege Rhino is going to be the thing that you're going to get a majority of that time. But I'm saying like playing all these other one ofs, I don't know. So like, all right, maybe the Bring to Lights are still good, but I don't know if you really need all these one ofs. Like you do have like the one Utter End, which seems like a good card, like to have, like. That can get you out of a lot of jams, you know what I mean? That's obviously can kill anything.
A sweet week 1 card too.
Yeah.
Which is like you can't have that.
I will say there's a couple of 4 and 5 color like control lists. Dan Mustard piloted one. I played against another one. Robert Vaughn is a guy playing another one who like I literally could not figure out like what I called it Sultai cards in a binder, and it is built like this. However, instead of Bring to Light, they're just playing Dig Through Time, and I think that actually justifies a lot more than one ofs. Like not having Dig Through Time here seems like strange to me because it's like, okay, I'm gonna have all these one ofs that like I can put back in the bottom of my library and like get through Bring to Light. And maybe you couldn't find the room for it. The Ugin's Insight like really seems like glaring to me, but it's just like, sure, you just don't want Dig Through Time because like that card's really good, man.
But you can get Ugin Insight off of your Bring to Light.
But you could just Dig Through Time.
You could. That is also true.
I do think like there's an interesting argument to that side of it. Like, is like the Bring to Light better, a Bring to Light package better than just like playing the same deck with like more like doubles of and just like 4 Dig Through Time. Like I don't know. I literally don't know. I didn't do the testing on it. Jerry Thompson obviously like was literally number 1 throughout the entire tournament and just kept murdering people. And the 2 other people to play this list, Kent Ketter and Joe Lissette, both in the top 16. They had their own like minor changes. So Joe Lissette had the Fathom Feeder, so ding on the top 16.
Ketter was playing.
Well,
he was playing like a more Jeskai version.
And he and honestly, like he managed to play better Jaces too. So I sorry, that honestly, there was a couple errors like that on camera. Like people were trying to like crucify Ali Andrazi, like just like because he like ticked up a hangerback walker he had just cast. Like he had end of turn, he ticked it up, and there was a whole Reddit thread devoted to it.
Wow!
And he even made a Facebook post this like I don't know what to think about this. Like I obviously did do it on purpose. Like people make mistakes on camera, so not every single one of them is a guy like cheating, hardcore cheating aggressively on purpose.
It happens, man. Like I was playing a cube match or whatever like a couple weeks ago, and I like literally like cast a card and then put it back in my hand without even like noticing. And I'm like, oh. Like the next turn, I was like, "Oh, this isn't in my hand. I cast that already." But, like I did that, not even noticing it. It's like we're playing a casual cube match. It's like obviously I'm not trying to cheat.
And even
That's
these
how
guys,
you're so good in cube, Dave.
I mean, even these guys who play on camera all the time will tell you it's still it's stressful. I mean, I played against Brian DeMars on camera, and he flat told me like how stressful it is, like for himself, and like he was on there all day, so it just I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, these things happen. What are you gonna do? It sucks that your mistakes are put on blast, basically, that you're scrutinized by thousands of people watching the Star City Games Open, and then you get memes made of you where you're Jace and your Jace has 6 starting loyalty.
Well, it doesn't help that kind of in the last year and a half we've had multiple people get banned for cheating because
Yeah.
they were caught on camera. So I think everybody's kind of on high alert for stuff
Sure.
like that. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
like Code Orange in the Magic threat level community.
Yeah. But intent and all that kind of
Yeah. I
goes
mean,
into it.
being on camera is definitely stressful. So I know that my one and only camera match where I get my teeth kicked in was super stressful. So yeah, it happens. I know what it feels like. But I like this the idea. I like the idea that we can now kind of make these toolbox-esque lists kind of work.
And different than just like what we had last format with Court of Calling. Where,
Exactly.
Like you could toolbox some interesting things. Like Utter End is a cool thing to have it as a toolbox, like you said. Or I mean, Ukin's Insight again. I don't think it was very good. Like it did some cool things, but like it's there. It's or I guess Clever Impersonator too. Like crazy, right? So
Yeah. Do you guys care if we move into talking about Ken Ketter's list a little bit? Just because I just want to highlight some of the differences.
Sure.
From
That's
Jerry
fine.
Thompson's.
I just want someone to build one of these lists and play the Conclave Naturalist on the sideboard and just get that sweet tech.
That'd probably be pretty sweet.
I just want it to happen, man. It's awesome. We're go ahead and start talking about Mr. Ketter's list.
So his list is a little bit more streamlined than Jerry's list. Jerry was playing a lot of one-ofs, a lot of tutor targets. If you look at Ken Ketter's list, he's playing 4 Hangerback Walker, 4 Mantis Rider, 4 Siege Rhino, 4 Jace, and 1 Dragon Lord Ojutai, which he could search up for.
yeah, that's I think my favorite Bring to Light target.
Yeah. And then, even the spell package, he's got 4 Absent Charms, 3 Crackling Dooms.
Clacking Doom.
Clackling Dooms. Which is
Doom?
it's really, I personally feel like Absent Charm is the best removal spell in the format. It is awkward that it doesn't kill Jace, but against almost everything else, it's...
No, I will say, like, his list, the one thing I definitely like about it, too, is, like, if you want to win the Jace Mirror match, I like playing 3 Fiery Impulse.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yeah, Fiery Impulse was pretty impressive. And, he is running the 1 Outer End, which I like a lot in the Bring to Light package, and even 1 Murderous Cut, which he's running 2 Treasure Cruises. So 2 Cruises and a Murderous Cut. He's not taxing the graveyard too much, other than with the Jace, I guess. But
it's also possible in this list that the way he's using, and I got to see him play a couple times. Jace, so we talked before, like, and Dave, you flat out asserted that the front side of Jace is always the better Jace. So did Keller. But by the way, we are gonna. I'm just gonna poke at you a couple times this episode. We've got a lot to come about how good Jace is and how terrible you are, but. I will say, like, this list actually may actively want to just be drawing an extra card every turn, especially once you hit your 5 colors of mana. Like, there's a lot of, like, fetches you can filter that you don't want to actually crack. So, like, Treasure Cruise and even, like, Murderous Cut, like, can help it so, like, okay, this Jace is going to stay flipped. It also allows you to have a Planeswalker Jace and maintain a Jace front up at the same time, which is a really difficult thing to do, but a line this deck can actually take.
2 Jaces at the same time.
Hey, guess what? Mind Sculptor can never do this.
Yeah, man, that's what I'd do if I had $1 million. 2 Jaces at the same time.
That's okay. There's definitely like a weird rhinestone cowboy joke there. Like,
Well, it's an Office Space reference, obviously.
I get it, but it's just like, I don't know, just like Jaces, get in.
Anyway,
another thing real quick I want to point out is the 1 Tragic Arrogance on the board, which you can search up with Ring Flight, which is pretty sweet because that actually happened on camera and it was pretty sick.
no,
So
interesting.
I like that. Jerry wasn't playing that, surprisingly.
Yeah, I really like the Dragon Lord Ojutai. I will say though, I also what?
I was talking about Tragic Arrogance.
I don't know why. I knew that too. Like, I knew you said that. I still said Dragon Lord.
Yeah, the Ojutai was cool
I was
too.
so focused on that. No, the Arrogance is really good. I just, for some reason, I was like, oh man, the Ojutai. Like, I knew what you said, and I still said Ojutai.
You're just looking at Ojutai the whole time, like, yeah, that
I'm not even
Ojutai.
kidding. It's something in the picture that's popped up still. So.
We understand Ojutai is the Dragon Lord for you.
It's the Dragon Lord for me. Oh man, I want it. You definitely see both these, all these lists playing Radiant Flames too, which like obviously is a non-bow with Bring to Light, but I think you just like that's probably like when you're bringing in more finishers, like more like mass removal, like that sense. That's the one you're gonna want anyways. Like it comes in a turn under Languish. He's more red based. Like it's pretty good. People are like, oh, you can't Bring to Light for it. I'm like, not the point.
It's still a card. Still what you want to play. So, it is interesting to even consider that and we see a lot of these lists playing, Bring the Light, but we don't see a lot of planar outbursts. We don't see a lot of that card getting played, and even I've played some blue white control lists, and they were still playing in hostilities to kind of cover their bases. So I think a lot of people were maybe afraid of the potentiality of maybe some awakened cards being better than what they ended up being.
Should also point out those blue white decks were poop.
They were in the draw bracket, so that's
They
where I
just kept
was
getting pushed.
to.
They can't win. I say that as a person who lost to it once, and I know Morgan, you had the unfortunate misery of getting stuck in the bracket with it.
Yeah,
but like
it's bad.
these decks could not close out. If you look in the top 64, there's one blue white control list that made it, and there were tons of it day one. So people really wanted to play like Jaces and Narsets and like planar outbursts as your win condition or scatter the winds as your win condition, but it just wasn't good enough.
No, not at all. But it was very painful to play very long games against it in the draw bracket, and yeah, it was bad. It was bad news bears. It'll be interesting to see where these Bring to Light lists go. I don't think they're going anywhere though. I think people still want to continue kind of playing this strategy, at least if they're something in the Pro Tour that like invalidates it. Or these lists just get more streamlined and they decide that they don't want to play 5 colors. So,
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the reason.
I don't think so either.
So we want to talk about some more lists? Do we want to talk about personal stuff? What do we want to do?
I mean, I've been going through some personal stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, like, I don't know. A lot of these lists look like week one lists to me. We don't know what anyone's doing necessarily for the Pro Tour, or at the very least, we only know a minimal of it. We see a lot of the the cards that we would expect to see. A lot of Gideons rising to the top, Jace's obviously being very good, and a lot of people playing a bunch of weird numbers in weird color combinations. So. I don't think there is necessarily a whole lot to talk about. Does anyone disagree?
I do think there's one last list I want to talk about before. Again, we can talk about Abs and Aggro, and we're going to talk about our version of it as well.
Yeah.
But there is a red-black aggro deck in 11th place, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I wish that this red-black aggro list was playing one of my sleeper cards, but they are not, unfortunately.
And this deck is interesting. The numbers are so this is your Forerunner of Slaughter deck. Which is sort of interesting, but not a lot of colorless interactions with the card, so they're just like playing it as like
Flinthoof Boar.
as Flinthoof Boar. Yeah, like it's I will say there's the one cool interaction where you could morph your Ash Cloud Phoenix and give it haste. So
Yep.
I don't know why you would play it with 4 mana up face down, but you could do that if you wanted to.
Sometimes that just needs to happen. I don't know. I think that this list kind of benefits from being able to play things like Draconic Roar effectively, and also being able to play like Self-Inflicted Wound, and I'm just kind of jamming 4 of in their list and killing some rhinos with it and stuff like that. So
it's also like got so much flying. There's 3 Flaming Phoenix, 1 Ash Cloud Phoenix, 4 Thunderbreak Regents, 2 Drainas, and 2 Kolaghan the Storm's Fury. Which I don't know. I always feel awkward playing the 1-drop to 5-drop aggro deck. But Kolaghan is probably good enough, like now, just to be able to dash it in. And if you have a Thunderbreak Regent too, oh man, you're dead.
Oh man,
you're just so.
Oh
dead.
yeah, that was the reason to play Red Black Dragons or Mardu Dragons in the format. But you also had Stormbreath Dragon, which was
that's true.
Which was really great.
Yeah, when I was talking about splashing black into the Atarka red deck, I think Kolaghan's Storm's Fury is the card I was thinking of. That I don't know if that's actually good, but it seems fun.
I mean, he's
And it
got
allows you to
25
play-
lands to support it.
Yeah,
so.
like it allows you to play Draconic Roar pretty effectively. And I know that Brian DeMars said that Thunderbreak Regent was really good for him all day, out of the sideboard. Also interesting to note that Thunderbreak Regent is pretty good against Gideon. He's able to fly over the tokens and able to kill it in one shot, if they don't +1 it, obviously. So just something to keep an eye out. I think that's a pretty good card. Seems like it's well positioned as the format looks right now, but who knows, if it's gonna stay that way. Everything's still up in the air.
Yeah,
There's
it's
so much you
still
can
so
do.
wide. It's still so open, man. There's so many options and choices. I just don't even know. It's like I'm a kid in a candy store. Anyway, so as far as how Mike and I did over the weekend, we both played the same exact 75. It was Mike's brew. which was Abzan, Splash Blue, and Splash Red.
5-color Abzan.
Five color Abzan. We decided the actual name of the deck is Surf and Safari.
Surf and Safari. I was trying like Surf and Elf Abzan, like Surf and Safari.
It's Surf and Safari because we are the blue splash in the main deck at least is mainly for Skyrider Elf, which is green, blue, X, scalable Skyreach Manta basically. If you are playing scalable Skyreach Manta. So again, this is the deck that we played Skyreach Manta. Skyreach Manta. Skyrider Elf. Skyrider Elf.
A lot of times it is Skyreach Manta.
Very true. Definitely played against another deck who was also playing that card, and I did not expect that to be played against me round one.
Now, I just want to say that to let it be known that if that card catches on, if that's like a thing going forward, Mike played the first one on camera.
I played the first one on camera, and the only ones in day 2.
Yeah.
There are 4 copies in day 2, and that is me.
Nice.
So, value.
And the deck I played against was more of a teamer base. He wasn't playing any black, but he was playing Beast Color Savant as well. And I was like, oh, your deck looks quite similar to mine. It was pretty interesting to play against round one, but unfortunately his elves were more powerful than mine, so did not win. And then got a nice draw against a blue-white control opponent. Ended up beating my next opponent, which was Grixis Dragons, and then played against Blue-White Control and lost, and then played against Blue-White Control and lost, and then
I will say that matchup was definitely not a good matchup.
Yeah,
so.
I was kind of done. I was kind of done with the tournament. I knew once I got that draw though that it was going to be bad because just knew the bracket.
That's where the blue-white deck got relegated to.
It
couldn't win games. It didn't lose them.
Yeah,
it was efficient at not dying.
Very efficient at not dying.
It can narset you and lock you out and actually legitimately not have a way to actually put you down to 0. Because then you couldn't cast spells, so they couldn't they had to counter their own spell with Scatter the Winds to awake it to make a creature to attack you. This is a legitimate scenario that we are in with that deck. So
yeah, it wasn't fun. I definitely just had some bad matchups, and I don't think it was the deck's fault. It was my fault and the matchup's fault, but I think the deck is still quite viable in the format going forward. So.
I really I did a ton of testing with this deck. We were gifted access to the beta, sort of surprising, we have the beta, let's do this. So I was able to get a ton of games in against I think decks that were a little bit more legitimate than you would have seen on some other platforms, and sort of got me away from.
Dave is karaokeing with the microphone.
Keep going. I'm just relaxing over here.
Okay, chilling off, relaxing, maxing off, shooting some. People outside the school.
Outside the school.
Won a couple of Skyrider elves. Anyways, so I was able to play against, and again, not get stuck playing against and I don't want to say stuck, but you sort of get if you play test only locally, then you only get. So it was nice to see a breadth. And then honestly, day one went pretty well. I ended up 7-2. I beat up on a Tarka Red. I beat up on. I saw the Abzan Aristocrats deck. Don't play that deck. I'm begging you not to play that deck. It was not.
Why not, Mike?
I mulled a 5 against him, and again, he didn't have a great draw, but he was just playing Blister Pods, they're the green 1/1 that becomes an Eldrazi sign if it dies, and all I had to do to win the game was never block one. I'm not kidding. Never block one. He couldn't get he was playing low mana because he's expecting to have synergy, and instead can't do anything. It was not good.
So you beat your opponents that were playing 1/1 unblockables for one?
Well, he had graveyard synergy. So I said I speed Abzan Aristocrats. Anafense is pretty good, right? I'm never cast one. Just cast 5/5 Skyrider elves and then just attacked for 5. It was it was not great.
That's pretty crazy.
I also got to play against a cool Eldrazi ramp deck, which day 2'd in top 32'd, I believe. That was interesting. Just playing all enchantment removal and Nisa's renewal and then Ulamogs. So that was cool. It was a close matchup, but I was able to get there. I ended up going I had one more loss to it, so I ended up going 5-3 against Abzan, including Abzan Control, which I would say we was not a matchup we were hoping to see, just like it was in the old format. They just have enough removal. So, but against Abzan,
I was just saying wouldn't have expected Abzan control.
There were
as
two
much.
versions of it. One of them top 8'd. So
Yeah. No, I know. Losing course is such a big.
it was,
big
but
loss.
when they draw well, they draw real well.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
and they had, I played against a guy who had Dragon Lords, didn't die to it, just bought a ton of time. So didn't get to live the dream and exert influence. Dragon Lord.
Dromica, yeah.
I was really sad. But I was, as far as like mirrors, it was like 5-2 in mirrors, and Skyward Elf was a consistent reason why. So that felt good. So losses had Blue Eye Control, and then lost to the Sultai, like crazy cards in a binder deck. Like I had no idea what the deck was doing. Thought I was playing against Abzan game 1, lost to like Sultai cards game 2, lost to Ugin game 3. Like I was like, I
Okay.
don't know what's happening.
This
Like,
is real life.
So that deck was interesting. I said that was Robert Vaughn, so you can see his list in the top 32 as well as Dan Musser's. Started off day 2, 2-0, so it was 9-2. Lost to Abzan Control and some really frustrating games, like where I had an Omnixilus and couldn't draw a second Black Source ever. Like that was bad. Got on camera against Brian DeMars at 9-3. Very much alive for top 8. Spoiler alert, didn't win another match, so that was sad. That match was really interesting. It's not very long on camera because there's no way games against that deck go long anyways. But
I just have to ask you one question about your camera match.
Yeah.
So, I didn't see this personally, but somebody told me that you had to read Chandra.
I did.
Is this true?
Yeah, of course I did. How many times have I seen that flipped across from me on the table? 0.
But it's Chandra.
Yeah, but it's not a good Chandra.
It's your girl.
It is my. I told him. I told Brian DeMars. I was like, it's like, man, part of me is really excited to see Chandra, and part of me is really sad to see Chandra. Honestly, like I knew it was shocks to the face. I didn't know if I made sure it was shocks to the creature. I didn't really care about the ultimate. So,
Just checking.
yeah. So yeah, he was game 1. Like game 1, I'm definitely a dog in that matchup. To regular Atarka Red, let alone his build. Now I did know he had the combo finish. I'd played next to him a number of times during the day. I kept an okay hand, but by the end of by a couple turns into the game, my hand turned into me having like multiple Abzan charms and never having a turn to cast them. So I literally, my curve was like Beast Caller into Anafenza into 5/5 Skyward Elf, and I was just dead. So his draw was good.
Yeah, like your draw seemed fine, but yeah, he just had the nuts.
So game 2, I mold a 6. I keep a hand that's like Siege Rhino, Ultimate Price, and the Reeve Soul. And like I'm able to sequence the game until I have an Anafenza. I set up a turn where I have to kill a creature with Ultimate Price at the end of his turn. I have a Den Protector and Anafenza with a Siege Rhino up. He didn't attack at all, so like I knew like in that matchup you have to win the game. Like you can't sit there. Like if I let him sit there and just keep drawing a target's commands, it's bad. Now we did have an awkward interaction. I didn't catch. People caught it off. I did Ultimate Price his Abbott. He did not exile it, and he delved it away the next turn, which is really awkward. But I attack for 7. Then I'm able to play Siege Rhino. So I put him to 8. I have like lethal.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So then we set up a next turn where he goes for a long time, and I will say that he got told to make a decision multiple times, and I should have called something about it just because the judge there isn't a spotter. So it's just and obviously like he's doing a lot of math, like a ton of math. He had a Tarkus command and the combo in hand, so it was rough for him. He attacks for just a 1, so you can see me on camera off to the left start writing things down. I'm doing the math on Become Immense and Teamer Battle Rage, and I know that I will not. I'm going to take 18, but I'll have to tap out to do it. Now the delve issue comes in that I still wasn't going to block either way. So if he doesn't have the Abbot in the graveyard, he can go Battle Rage first and then still delve for Become Immense. So it doesn't change there. But I go to 3 and then have infinite draw. Like I know that my next turn I'm going to put him on no creatures on board, and I'm only dead to a couple of things, including a Tarkus command. But I had 25% of my deck almost as draws to just win the game on the spot. So I think I put myself in the best position to win the match. He had the Tarkus command. If he didn't, I just win the next turn. So I don't feel like I played that match well. I know I poorly at all. I think a lot of people said that like oh well, no, you'll learn to block, won't you? But like he had a Tarkus command in hand anyways. So if I block there and go to that life total, I can't present lethal the next turn, and then he has a bunch of Goblin tokens just to Tarkus command me out. So there's no scenario where I block and I win the game. The only scenario where I don't block and I can win the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you weren't aware that you were about to take 18.
Right? Yeah. No. Like
You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah, everyone was harping on the number. I went back and watched the coverage of it, and like everyone's like, "Well, you can just see how it can just combo people out like that." And it's like this isn't surprise. Like it wasn't surprising to me though. Like I knew the number I was taking, so like don't fixate on the numbers so much. I think like yeah, it's crazy that they could do that. Don't get me wrong. Like he had 3 mana in play and was able to take one guy and do 18 to me. But at the same time, like it's not like this is some shocking new thing. Like this can happen. You just have to play to your best around it.
right. Yeah, and I totally agree. I think like yeah, if you block there, then like you lose the Siege Rhino, and then you can't put him on lethal, and then like you need to try to shorten the game. I think in that spot, and you gave yourself the best chance to win. It didn't work out, but that's really all you can do. I don't think taking the other line would have worked out for you either. So I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I still feel like
that's all you can do.
Yeah, I still feel like that matchup in general. Like if you listen to the coverage, like they pointed out, we knew game 1 was rough. We knew that our sideboard was great. I did draw 2 sideboard cards. I needed to draw 1 more business spell to win that game. Like what are you gonna do? Sometimes even if you have the best board in the world against that deck, sometimes they're just gonna be able to take the game, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, and after that, like I said, had some really frustrating things happen where I was still live to do pretty well, and like had a number of games where I didn't get past land drop 2. Like 3 out of my next 4 games I didn't get past land drop 2. Like kept like fine hands with like a mana guy, and then just sat there with a mana guy and 2 lands in play until I died. So, it was a frustrating way to lose, to end the tournament, and I chalked that up to like that happens sometimes. Like we were playing 26 lands. It's not like I had issues most of the other day, but I finished in 54th. So I cashed it, got that sweet name up there on the list.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have that out there. So deck was really good. There's definitely some things that could be changed. We immediately started working on the mana base a little bit again. We wanted another planes. Let me tell you. So Brian Keller, who's been on the show, who was on our review show, I definitely was behind like the deck, but he is the brains behind the mana base, and he's a wizard. And like I came to him like I want another basic planes in this, and I think I want another black source, and he's like okay, and he just like went through all these scenarios, and we have a different way to look at the mana base. So I also think I want a second wingmate rock, so it might be actually cutting one of the elves for another rock, especially with the second planes in the main. So if you're interested in the list, I've tweeted it out. I tweeted out the MTG Goldfish image of it, which man, how great is MTG Goldfish?
Makes it look real nice.
It does. It's like, oh man, this is all right. I laid it out at the event and took a picture of it, and we Morgan and Keller stood with like a hoodie over the table so we could reduce the glare. And then I'm like, oh wait, MTG Goldfish did. Oh okay, well, I'm just using this.
Yeah.
So,
thanks, Mike.
If you do a lot of people were really really kind after Big Boros and like gave me some feedback on it. If you decide to pick up this deck and want to cast elves, by all means do it. I will say that I think I was really high on Exert Influence, and I think that's if I was right about any card in the format, if I'm going to feel good about any card, that's the one. And that card, not just for myself, but I mean, I sat next to like BBD all day and watched him just blow people out with this card. I watched a number of people just be like, oh, this Rhino's mine now. Oh, this is mine now. Oh, and you're just like, there's no recovery from it. The card is really good.
I didn't get to cast it at the tournament, unfortunately. Obviously, Control doesn't have necessarily a lot of good targets for it, but doing some testing on it, one of the coolest things that I did get to do is definitely Exert Influence, a unflipped Den Protector. That's living the dream, by the way. That was great. It was a good day. It was a good day when that happened. For me, not my opponent, though.
I took a Hangarback Walker in the mirror to swing for lethal,
nice,
which was really awesome, and I took a Siege Rhino against an opponent who's like on the back foot, so it was just like it was like a removal spell would have been good, but like that was just like crushing. And I also got to take a Siege Rhino and then take up a Sorin on day 2 against an opponent. So it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be an important card for these kind of Abzan-ish, 4-color decks.
Yeah.
Going forward. But, yeah, when you mentioned the mana base, I just want to go back to that a little bit. That's really almost half the battle in this format, it seems like, you know what I mean? Like, you could pretty much do whatever you want or play whatever cards you want, but figuring out that mana base is going to be tough.
Yeah, that's the science.
And
it really comes out like personal preference is playing a huge thing into it. There's Owen Turtwell wrote an article today about the 5 most overrated cards in Battle for Zendikar, and he put Shambling Vents on it. Now, we opted to only run 2 and I don't disagree with his assessment. Now I saw some people like they were like warping their abs and aggro like deck to have 4 of them, which like really stunts your growth, especially if you're trying to play like a lot of them. Like I saw people playing 4 of those and then trying to play like wardens, and it's like I don't know how you're gonna do that. And like honestly, like there's only so many games where that comes into effect. Like sometimes you get to attack with it, and it's great. And every time I got to put a counter on it with an Anafenzo, it was obscene. But I'm glad to have it in the format. But I also don't think like I personally don't know if it's worth warping your entire mana base for. But some people obviously wanted that. Like there's so many different ways to play it. I saw Blighted Fen seeing a bunch of play this weekend. I watched it kill a Sarkhan Dragon Speaker. Oh my god, that was unreal. But like so like I don't know what's right, honestly.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna take a little while to work out, but I think we all kind of knew that like the mana was gonna be pretty good, and like playing 4 colors wasn't gonna be a big issue, and we kind of saw that play out. I think week 1 we just saw just a ton of 4 and 5 color decks. We'll kind of see how it all shakes out in the next couple of weeks. I know we have another standard SCG Open coming up this weekend, and then we have the Pro Tour coming up the next weekend after that. So
I think it's also important to note that there are large this had a huge number of big name players. I mean, poor Elliot got to play against Steve Rubin on was it on camera?
I don't know if it was on camera.
Or he was a secondary camera match then.
Yeah.
And he didn't know who Steve Rubin was, and I'm like, he's like, was he good? And I'm like, oh yeah, bud. Like,
yeah, he was playing at the World Championship.
Yeah, casual platinum pro. You know what I mean? But a number of these people playing these decks, like who are going to go to the Pro Tour, like they're probably not showing you, like Jerry Thompson aside, who's like, yeah, this is what I'm doing, deal with it. Are not, they're playing, again, level 0 kind of stuff. They're probably not showing you, like Brad Nelson's coming here playing Abs and Aggro and not showing you his hottest tech for the Pro Tour yet, or he may not have that hottest tech yet. So it's important to see like that, those guys dictated a large amount of the format, but also we haven't gotten to the meat of it yet, I don't think.
Yeah, don't let anybody tell you that these Star City events don't warp the Pro Tour, because they do. A lot of people look at the results, maybe not the week 1, but I think this upcoming week in Atlanta, I think is really going to, potentially shape what we see at the Pro Tour, depending on what does well.
Yeah, especially without a constructed GP, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, like if we see like another red deck take it down, then it's like, do not expect red to do well at the Pro Tour, because people are going to over prepare for it.
I mean, it's possible now that they're going to over prepare for it. So.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. But like if it wins again through the hate, then it's like, okay,
way
maybe we need to take
DeMars.
a different approach.
It's ruining the Pro Tour for people like Martin Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What was he gonna do?
But anyway,
so it was cool to be there. Like I love being those opens like that first weekend, like getting to walk around and see what all the decks are, and like even though I didn't end up where I wanted to, like I had that itch again. Like when I was sitting there like 9-2, I was just like, oh yeah, and then just like did not have a good second half, and it was frustrating. But like I love being in the thick of that, just like sitting there, like seeing the format, being part of the format, like if that's the fun. That's the fun.
I think you especially enjoy that too, because you just like brewing, and like that's like week 1 is just like anything goes, man.
So much like wild horses, man, just running free, painting with all the colors of the wind.
Yeah.
Other Pocahontas stuff.
Sure.
People howling at moons.
That, but...
Grandmothers be willow trees.
I got a raccoon friend. Yeah, I told Mike we had to leave him in Indy, but he didn't want to.
All right, we're gonna talk about these IQs real quick.
Yeah, we'll touch on them here real quick. The Modern IQ was won by I guess that would be Andrew, right? Andrew White.
Andrew White.
It's a unique spelling of Andrew.
Yeah.
Playing Gurtron, Green Redtron.
Gurtron.
So.
Yeah, not a lot of spice in this one.
Nope.
Congrats, Elliot took 17th.
Yeah, congrats. Playing Grixis Twin with Jace. Not, the good one.
I guess
Prince Prodigy.
That's pretty much the standard at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a couple Jundlas showing up at the top 8, and we had
talk about Jund.
I gotta mention it at the very least. We have Amulet Bloom, Abs and Company, piloted by Logan Mize. He's been very proficient with that deck. If you've ever seen him play, he does very well with it. So not surprising there. We have Zoo, Green White Hate Bears, and Affinity.
When we talk about this 10th place list.
Oh, the Jeskai Allies list. Oh,
yeah,
so here's where the allies
new.
were.
Where have all the allies gone? Right here.
Let's talk about Cloud Shift in Modern.
Ooh, Doctor.
Let's see. Does this deck have any new allies in it? That's
Yeah,
one.
it has Expedition Envoy, Core Blade Whirl,
Oh,
and Lantern Scout
nice, nice.
in the
And
sideboard.
It's got the ally encampment.
Yep,
for
yeah, it has their camp.
Yeah.
As their camp.
Yep.
This definitely has some interesting spells. We got 3 Cloud Shifts, and then in the sideboard we have 3 Pay No Heeds.
Yeah,
Haven't seen that
man.
one yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. I feel like Allies is kind of was it a GP or last? Oh, maybe the Modern Open. I can't remember. This was probably a month ago, but there was an Allies deck that was doing decent. But
I mean, it's actually shown up like in the top 16 a couple of times recently. So
Yeah.
it's hanging out. I played against it a couple times on a couple various platforms online, and it's okay. It's definitely, I will say, like, because I do Blade Master, still pretty good. If you're playing a creature deck, Vigilance First Strike, it gets out of hand pretty quick.
yeah, the for those that don't know, the old school Allies, the ones from the original Zendikar block, a lot of them just got +1/+1 counters for each, each time an ally entered the battlefield. So these, because they do Blade Masters and how to free blades can oftentimes get pretty big, out of range of lightning bolt and pyroclasm and things like that. So if you think that those cards are going to save you, it might not. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to see like how Aether Vial and Cloud Shift work with Kabiri Evangel. I was like, for some reason I just couldn't remember how to say that word. Which is a 2/3 for 3 that says when it enters the battlefield, or another ally enters the battlefield, you choose a color and your allies gain protection from that color. Pretty way to get through you got a bunch of Tarmogoyfs that are bigger than me. Don't care.
Does not matter.
And then Anger of the Gods, which is really the most common sweeper in Modern right now. Really easy way, I'll just vial this in, or I'll Cloud Shift this, pro red. So it's got some cool interactions.
Yeah. You got you got a Tuk Scrapper there in the sideboard, 2 of them.
Is he an ally? I know he's a goblin.
Oh yeah, he is
yeah.
an
He's a
ally.
goblin
Sir.
artificer ally.
He's the one that every time you play an ally, you get to destroy an artifact, and then you get to detonate them.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that
Sup,
good?
Sup Affinity.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I mean, I don't know how good the 4-drop is in that scenario, but
Oh, you know what? Who probably doesn't like this? Probably the Lantern deck.
oh no, not a big fan of the Tuk Scrapper. However, you probably don't get to draw that card.
Not at all. No.
You have to have it in your opener with Aether Vial and hope they don't have a discard spell. I mean, it does play around Inquisition, which is kind of cute.
Yeah. And you can resolve it. You have Cavernous Souls, so they aren't going to counter it.
Well, I don't
I
think
guess.
that's the counters anyways.
I don't know.
I realized that after I said that. But
Whatever.
All right.
They can't thought season though. That makes you sad.
Yeah. Anyway, he probably got a lot of free wins off of just people not knowing how to play against this list or not knowing what to expect. Because I definitely wouldn't expect Cloud Shift or Pay No Heed.
well, yeah, and
that.
not knowing, people get used to playing against Vial decks once they know what other things do. That was one of the things that Sliver's deck a few weeks ago had going forward. Is that you're I don't know what Sliver's coming out of the Vial, and I don't know what ability they're getting, and that's terrifying. And now you have you get First Strike, you get Lifelink, you get protection from any colors. We can just we have Metamorph, or we have the Shapeshifter. They can become anything. You get a lot of weird effects, and if you don't know how to play around it, you can just die to that effect, without knowing. So, cool list.
Cool. What won Legacy?
My favorite deck. He gets to talk about Jund. I get to talk about Shardless Bug.
Go ahead. They also play Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah, Shardless Bug is sweet, and it makes total sense to me that Shardless Bug would rise to the top after they banned Dig Through Time. Miracles is already a pretty good matchup for that deck, and then you take away the best card Miracles had recently, and you're just oh, I guess I'll just sleeve up these Shardless agents.
Well, I mean, every blue deck was playing Dig. I mean, and now Ancestral Vision seems to be the best way to kind of get that card advantage now. So I'm not really surprised that this deck took down Legacy. If you're just thinking about okay, well, all these other blue decks lose out, and Shardless Bug is just well, still here. This is kind of just stayed pat, and it felt like it just kind of gained by the other decks all losing Dig Through Time. So, did we see any
no
Black Vice decks?
No. We got Keller and I made a cool trip up and down the last row of Legacy a couple times, and that's where all the cool decks were. That's where Smokestack was. That's where Winter Ore was hanging out. We were trying to find the Black Vice deck, we couldn't find it.
But you can play anything in Legacy, right?
I mean, you can. We saw somebody cast an Uba mask. Dave, what does Uba mask do?
I don't know.
Uba mask. Hold on, make sure I'm spelling it right.
UBA.
It is,
Mask.
okay. Uba mask.
Mask.
If a player would draw a card that player removes that card from the game face up instead. Each player may play cards he or she remove from the game with Uba mask this turn. That person playing Uba mask cast it against Enchantress. So it meant Enchantress had to exile all the cards they drew that turn, and then could keep cards in hand, so they couldn't discard to solitary confinement. That was the most narrow thing we could imagine. Like, it's just like, well, I guess that beats Enchantress. I don't know why you're worried about that, but you also got paired against it, so I don't know what to think anymore.
You know what would have been great? If the guy that was like playing Uba Mask was just like, yeah, I can never beat my friend playing Enchantress. like
we were
I
just like,
was playing this just for that.
we were just like standing there, like Kelly and I were both just like, I'd never seen the card before, like, or if I had, like, I just didn't remember it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, all right.
I mean, I know that it's a card, but I couldn't tell you what it did. So,
So yeah, that was Legacy.
Not to go back, but we forgot to mention this. There were no sightings of the new hot combo as far as I can see.
No.
In the there's actually a Bant Zoo list that did get 26th place, but no retreat.
Yeah, no night retreat decks.
Nope. So if you guys were expecting that to kind of blow up, maybe it didn't, but we'll see. Just wanted to mention that. I was kind of trying to look through the list here.
No, fair enough.
There is an Open the Vaults list in the top 32. I just want to let you guys know. So, if you guys want to see something funny, go for it. It's great. Anyway, I mean that's pretty much everything for the competitive segment of the show. Anyone want to add anything else before we move into the question?
I'm good.
Sweet. So we'll move into the question of the week, and this is one that's been very hotly debated since the weekend here. So basically, the player base was shocked to discover the average prices of these top 8 decks from weekends open. The weekends open. The prices have begun to creep up to modern levels of decks. We see expensive Jaces spiking up to $80-$85, and we kind of want to pose a question: is this an indication of any issue for Standard? Now, it should be pointed out that the Open has less than 450 players, and we, should we fear that the players may be, priced out of, Magic's, most quote unquote accessible popular format?
I have strong feelings on this, so I don't know if you want me to go first or not.
Good, then I'll go first.
Okay,
that makes it easy.
I don't know. I don't feel like overall Standard is like spiking. I mean, we obviously Jace is super expensive right now, but it's not like everything in the whole format is super expensive. I really don't know what prompted Jace to spike that much, to be honest with you.
It was ubiquitous.
Yeah,
that's what caused it to spike.
Okay.
You sprinkled a little bit of Jace on most everything.
It wasn't just like the internet doing this. We watched the buy lists go from like buying Jace from at 35 to buying Jace at 55 in a day.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. But I mean, like, as far as it pricing people out, I mean, there are enough decks not playing Jace in Standard where you can still play a fine Standard deck if you wanted to, and you don't have to spend $80.
Our list was about $300 less than the bulk of the top 8 lists, and we weren't playing Jace.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, like, you can still play the format. It's unfortunate that there is a staple card, like pretty much if you're playing blue as one of your main colors, you're probably going to want some number of Jaces in it, most likely 4. So it is slightly awkward, but I mean, we've seen this before with Jace the Mind Sculptor when it was in Standard. That was
Leon of the Veil as well.
Yeah, exactly. That followed, shortly after that. But, back then during original Zendikar, Jace was an $80 to $100 card in Standard, and I didn't have a huge budget to spend on Magic, but I found a way to trade for them over time. So, uh, I feel like if you want to, you could get there if you really want to play a card like that. So, I don't think it's really pricing anybody out.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that even for. I absolutely agree with you, and I feel like I went and did the math. Like, I did the math, but like looking at Jerry Thompson's list, his 5-color bring to light control list. It was a 700 and let me make sure I have the right price here. It's like 700 and
$753.
Thank you, $53. I knew it was like 7. Like I was like 764. That's it. So, was it $518 of that are fetch lands and Jace. And now people were complaining because like it's like, oh well, it's like like you could buy into Modern for that. Except for if you built this deck and you spent those, you actually did buy into Modern. You bought a bunch of Eternal Staple fetches and Jace that's been played in Vintage, Legacy, and Modern. Like, you are not the expensive cards in the list are the cards that one you had a chance to buy in at. Like you could have bought Jace's at 20. I understand that window was small. However, cons fetches you had months to get them at sub $10.
Oh yeah, that's what I did.
You get Bloodsail Myers for $7 6 months ago. Like that's just the truth. Okay, so to pretend like you're getting priced out when you're actually, in this case, all these decks are built in staple. The only argument you can make as far as a really expensive staple would be Hangerback Walker. That's a card that has not shown to have a ton of, like, yeah, it's seen a little bit of affinity play. Yeah, it saw some vintage play, but it hasn't shown the ubiquitous. Yes, that card is expensive for a standard card. You're going to have something like that. So you literally have just combined Eternal playables with new cards from a new set. That's it. Doing the math on the rest of his deck, roughly $120 of total value out of his deck is from new cards from the new set. If you are complaining about not being able to play that new standard, but then you bought a box or more, then you could have played this deck. You could have bought the singles for this deck out of the new set, but instead you bought a box. So it doesn't make sense to me. Now people are like, oh, we'll price new players out of the format. I don't know if you're familiar with games like this. Like, yeah, you could come draft Magic for $14 and play Magic. You could play Hearthstone for free. You could play, heck, something like HeroClix. You can draft that. You can draft that game. However, if you want to play it legitimately, you have to invest. Like, go ask anybody who's ever played like Warhammer, and see what it's like to get in and play the game for real. You know what I mean? If it's a new player who's like got to walk in and buy these off the street, they can start in a different deck and work towards it. But for people if you're already invested in the format, no, this is not that big of a deal. It is being overblown entirely. So I don't know. I don't want to really listen to the people complaining about it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with most of what you guys are saying. I think like a lot of this is spurred on by like seeing that high price tag on Jace, and people just kind of want to say the sky is falling when they see that.
Well, it's actually going up.
Right.
The ceiling, so as it were.
I think that it is probably a bit more difficult for people to start into standard than it used to be a few years ago, though. I remember because I mean, at least I have recent experience with this. I started back when you had Scars, and Estrad, and that was probably you had some of the most expensive cards that we had recently because you had Liliana and Estrad, and you had Snapcaster, and throughout that time frame, Liliana definitely got expensive because, like Jace, she was seeing play in internal formats. So you'll have that when you have a multi-format card that is really good, and you'll on occasion. But when you look at everything else, especially when you look at stuff from cons, when you look at stuff from cons block, like that stuff's not expensive. All in all,
and the stuff for Battle for Zendikar won't be
exactly. Like Origins has the same issue as the second set in a 3-set block, where it is only drafted for so long. It is not going to be opened any further, and that's why they can jack up the price on Jace, because it's not the F&M draft format. So even though it's still Origins is still in print, so they can still print it, I believe. but it's not going to be as actively open as it
Yeah,
once was.
FYI, I know you want expeditions, but it's actually probably right now more valuable to open boxes. Of
Depending on
Origins.
what you can get boxes of Origins at.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, but if you can get boxes of Origins for sub 100 because you could for a long time. Then
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Like even if you don't win the Jace lottery, like you're expected to open at least one Hangerback Walker. You're expected to open at least one or two flip walkers. You're gonna do fine.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of people sort of bemoaning. I like I said, I don't think it's easy to do it, but that's just because like the game is just getting bigger. And overall, I'll break something to you if you don't actually know this. Standard is far more expensive than over time, far more expensive than Modern, and far more expensive than Legacy, depending on how long you play, because you have to have a constant influx of cards. Now you can manage that expense by trading properly, being good at Magic, which some of us don't have the luxury of actually being, unfortunately.
I paid $0 for any new singles for this format.
Yeah, so it's like
Feels good.
so you can manage your costs, and the game actually builds that out for you to be able to do. And it may be more expensive, but overall, I don't think it is that detrimental to the player base, and I don't think Wizards thinks that either, because Magic is growing and growing and growing. In all honesty,
That's like Flintstone vitamins. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Keeps
yeah.
you strong and growing.
So, in all honesty, this is not something that Wizards actually is in the market to manage. They don't care.
No, they already are managing it. Because all of the cost of these decks are put into fetch lands that you can play with forever.
Yeah, correct. But I mean, like, it's not their responsibility to manage the secondary market.
No, you're right, but I'm saying like in this format they literally have.
Yeah.
They have literally gifted you with like all the value.
Yeah, well, okay, so they gifted players that have been playing since cons with all the value.
Sure, but you could go buy 4 event decks and have 4 Wood of Foothills and 4 Siege Rhinos and 4 collected companies and spend just over the price of a box.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a really good deal when they
Clashback,
had the
sorry.
Clashback. Yeah, Clashback was actually a really
If
sweet
you're an
deal.
event deck, you could buy 4 of them and have 4 Canopy Vistas and 4 Hangerback Walkers.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get into this. You can. I
For
promise
sure.
you.
And in all honesty, Wizards, when it comes down to it, they aren't necessarily looking to fix or correct the secondary market a whole lot of the time. How they make their money a lot of the time is casual players, and that should be known.
And they buy a lot of product.
They buy a lot of sealed product, and that's the important part, because that's what Wizards provides to its distributors that stores buy. So unless this is something that really affects casual players, an $80 card is not going to affect a casual player necessarily. Especially since they have a whole vast collection of Magic cards to really pull from. So they don't necessarily need Jace. But if something like a pack price, if MSRP for packs was to be raised, that's something that might be a little bit more alarming for the player base as a whole, just for the sheer fact that, that affects the casual market more than it affects us. So
Yeah,
we're not the
I
target
agree with
demo. We're not the target demo for Wizards. But I think a lot of people are just kind of overblowing this. If Standard's expensive now, it won't be. Just for the sheer fact that a lot of casual players, a lot of people want to open these packs. They want to get expeditions. They want to get floor lands. They want to have that rush. So if it is a little bit more inflated right now, it won't be, and you still have plenty of options to play in Standard. So
Yeah, and like I just want to reiterate, like I don't think any of us are really happy that Jace is $80. I think we would
not
all
at all.
prefer it to be more affordable for people.
I've had 4 since week 2 of Origins. I don't care.
Okay, but all right,
No, I'm being a jerk.
Yeah.
It isn't good that it's that valuable.
right. But I mean, I do think the overreaction is a little ridiculous. Like, let's not act like every set has a Jace that is going to be $80 to $100 in it. This is a special case, like you said. It's like it was in Magic Origins, which in essence is like a second set where it's not opened as much.
Yeah.
This is a card that is played in a lot of different formats.
I mean,
We just don't get these all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, we really don't. I mean,
yeah, if you looking at Battle for Zenda card, Chase Andra is like pretty much the only like finance guy I ever end up reading, anyways. But talked about today about how like Gideon was all over the place, like in every deck, and dropped $5 of value.
yeah. Well,
because,
Gideon's not a card that you're going to see in Modern, most likely. You know.
Yeah, so it's just what it is. You also have to look at things like Jace being special. Like if you looked at Liliana of the Veil, right? You're like, oh my gosh, like that was a special card. I tell you, Jace is in the same bracket, and Jace is even harder to reprint because you just can't put flip walkers in things. You just can't.
You can't just shove them in there. It's not how it works.
I will say that somebody made a comparison. I think Jordan actually threw out like how Bonfire of the Damned was a $40 like card. I would argue that you would feel a lot worse if you were the person who like, well, if I want to play standard, I have to pay $106 in Bonfire of the Damned.
Yeah, I would not. I would never buy
You
Bonfire of the
you'll
Damned.
feel a lot worse if you're the guy that did that versus the guy who paid $80 a Jace. You're gonna feel a lot worse about one of those, and it's not the Jace.
Yeah. Fun fact, could you imagine, like, this is what Maz would have done if he saw any of the play that he was supposed to play.
Oh yeah, if you would have like broken into Modern aggressively, like, oh, like, here's a new 3-drop for Zoo that you actually really wanted. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can literally
One
do
of the
this.
gods was so awful.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would take for Bramaz to have done that. Would he have to be 2 mana?
He was actually 2 colorless, devoid, but devoid, like just like whatever. Like he just was easy to play in every deck. Didn't have double white cost. It cost 1 less. Made 2
So
1.
you say it was 2 color? It just cost 2 colorless.
Yeah, it just cost 2 colorless. It's not even white anymore.
His reverse devoid. It's white. It's not colorless.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll do it that. That's fine. It makes 2/1 first striking tokens
with haste or
that
whatever, I don't know.
that have coat of arms built in. So whenever you get another cat token, they each get +1/+1 for each cat token, and then it might see play as a 2 in Death and Taxes.
Then I think if you ever see that card seeing print, then it's probably time to sell your collection because I think Magic's dead.
Yeah.
They just stop trying.
Magic's the new Yu-Gi-Oh! You should just stop.
they just reprinted a card called Better Brimaz.
Bramaz the Greater.
Just call up Sam Stoddard and be like,
Brimaz the
Stodd,
bestest.
Stodd, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
Oh, man. Yeah, but I mean, just don't worry about this.
Todd said that Siege Rhino was what they wanted to do. Looking at this format where decks are like, I just want to play 9 of them. Is that really what they wanted?
I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know how they work up there.
No, I honestly, like, if you're a person who like you're sad you missed the boat on Jace, I apologize. If you feel like you don't get to play a deck you wanted to,
If you're one of our diehard listeners, we are so sorry.
look, I do feel bad for you in that respect. I truly do. And if the reason you don't own Jace's is because you agreed with Dave's assessment, so Dave said I shouldn't buy Jace's. I was going to pre-order them, but I didn't. Message me. I'll give you Dave's personal address. You can mail whatever type of feces you want to mail to him, whatever you want. But that's upsetting. But I will say that you could find value in other cards, and then again, just like you do in any other format, take those cards and turn them into Jace's. You know what I mean? Like work on that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like a good option to do is draft the new format.
open an expedition.
Yeah, if you open any expedition, turn them into Jace's.
Yeah. So I mean, but like drafting, like if you don't draft a lot, or if you're not necessarily good at drafting, there's no better place to start than just do it. And especially with new formats, especially with this one, because you get full art basics with your pack, so it's baked in value.
It's right. It's a little nougat. It's delicious.
Yeah, and especially like, so not only you may not have Jace's, but I mean you probably may not have a lot of the new cards, so it's a good way to get those as well. And I think it's great, and I've started drafting a bit more than I used to in the previous sets, and it's definitely helped me improve like that section of playing, but just playing overall, playing different formats, especially competitively, definitely helps you play the game better as a whole. So I highly suggest doing that if you need some value from the game. So
Speaking of different formats,
yeah.
Want to wrap this one up, Morgan?
Yeah, let's do that. So over the weekend we have
That
a
segue.
that's a very good segue, Dave. I appreciate it. We have a few things going on tournament-wise. So we have Star City Games in Atlanta, and then we have GP Madison and GP Sydney, which are both Battle for Zendikar Unlimited. So it's the first time to kind of see that on camera, at a competitive REL level. I know that we had the 24-hour stream, which in the Community Cup, which had it which isn't necessarily something where we get to see pro level players play some, except for Joel Larson, excuse me.
I mean, they also got the team draft. Like, they got to, like, coach each other draft.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited. I don't know if I'll end up watching any of this, but I'll probably try to get at least one top 8 draft in.
Yeah, I mean, like, watching the draft is so much fun. That's so addictive. It's weird to just be like, oh man, I just want to watch this person draft.
Yeah, I totally would have made that pick. Yeah,
I want to watch this person pick cards out of a pack.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's just like the same thing where it's like, oh man, I'm gonna watch this person speed run Mario for no reason. Yeah, it's so addictive.
I know we're trying to wrap up here, but I had that conversation with my wife yesterday. Because she was looking for me on Twitch yesterday to watch the coverage, and she was just like, there's a lot of stuff on Twitch, like it's hard to. I'm like, yeah, well, you can just favorite this, and I'm like, she's like, well, why do people want to watch that? And I'm like, I don't really know. Like it's anything you enjoy and you get to watch people doing that. There's entertainment value. But I was going through showing her the different games you can watch. Like, here, you can watch like Mario Maker, or you can watch like Grand Theft Auto. And she's like, why would I watch someone play Grand Theft Auto? And I'm like, I don't know. But this guy has 400 people watching him right now, so somebody likes this.
I mean, I watch a lot more Magic than I actually play. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. But
and a lot of that hinges on like who's playing it. If you have an entertaining person, like
Yeah,
you'll probably watch
exactly.
most anything they do. If it also happens to be something you enjoy doing as well, you're more encouraged to watch it. Just like you listen to our podcast because you like us, right?
yeah, of course, obviously.
Please say you like us. we need the validation
Well,
every day.
Anybody find me somebody to love?
I think the most exciting event that we have going on this weekend, though, is the annual Dave's Cube Invitational. It's a very prestigious event. Only a few select people get to even participate in it on a yearly basis. This has only been my second year of actually participating, so I'm the newbie. But I'm hopefully going to do better than I did last year, where I don't think I did anything productive.
Did you get the golden ticket invitation that I sent you in the mail?
Yeah, it was very. I held it up over my head, and it was like a gift from heaven.
Mine was in candy, and I was depressed. Mine was not. What's funny is this is only my second invitation as well. I went to the one before the last one, then had to leave suddenly, and couldn't make it at all to the one before that. But my only one.
Yeah, who? What?
My only one that I've been to, I won. So.
Well, it's not all.
Easy game.
Let's call back to a point I made. Not all of us can be good at Magic. So.
Yeah. So, I do just want to like explain a little bit about what this is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then
I'm done for tonight. So.
All right. Well, see you later, Mike. Even though this is your house, but so. Oh man. So this is something that I do every year. This will be the 6th annual Cube Invitational. So I'm pretty excited that we've been able to keep it going. And each year it's become bigger and bigger. So it started off with just 8 people actually, and this year I'm expecting anywhere from 16 to 20. So it's still relatively small, but it should be fun. And what we actually do is we set up. We obviously, if we have 16 people, then we'll have to have separate pods. So we'll do a booster draft in 3 rounds, and then we repod, do 3 rounds of Rochester draft, which is probably the only time we ever Rochester draft.
You should say what Rochester drafting is.
Yeah, so Rochester draft, for those who haven't done that, this is kind of an old school format.
Yeah, they don't do this anymore. They used to do this at events.
Yeah,
they don't do it anymore.
They don't do this anymore. But basically, say if you have an 8-man table. Each pack, so say if I'm in seat 1, I open up my first pack and I just lay out the whole pack on the table, and then I pick a card, and then so everybody gets to see all the cards that are drafted, and everybody knows what everybody has, and then you open the packs one by one versus everybody opening up one pack and then passing. So
it's really long. It's really fun. It's really fun, but it is an excruciatingly long form of draft.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. There's a lot of skill involved. It's definitely really funny to see 2 people fighting over like the same color, because you can see exactly what's happening. You're like, oh, these 2 people are playing red over here. Let's see how this plays out. And just to see like how people hate draft versus kind of sometimes you want to help out the person on your right, like, oh, you know what, I'll leave this green card in here for you if you leave the blue card on the way back for me. So it's definitely an interesting format. So I purposely make that the second draft to kind of, that's like the make or break, the cut to, which in this tournament I do a cut to the top 6, which is kind of weird, but I do that on purpose so that people can't scoop people in and things like that for the top cut there. And then we do a 6-man draft, with the top 2 seeds getting a bye into the final. So, but the most exciting thing about this is the winner gets to make their own card for my cube. So,
My card was sweet.
Yeah, so Mike got to make his own card. It's been in the cube for a year.
It's not been in there for a year. Not even close. No,
almost a year.
Not even close.
Almost a year. Well, that's the idea, is that it's in there until the next invitational.
Fair enough.
And then what we do, it kind of rotates out the last person's card, and then at the actual invitational, we just have all the invitational cards are in play. It could potentially be drafted. So.
And Eric Klug is on the art for the bulk of them. So I have just a sweet piece of art with me with a phoenix on my arm, done all Klug style, and it's the best picture that'll ever be taken of me. And it's a painting. So anyway, whatever.
What are you gonna do?
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Every year we've done it. It's been at Comic Town. Ryan's been nice enough to give us the space to play at the shop. Really looking forward to it. It's always really exciting for me, especially. But I know that a lot of people in the Columbus area look forward to it. They're playing it. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed for it. Hopefully, I will do a little bit better than I did last year. Fingers crossed. That's the hope.
I hope I do exactly the same as I did last year.
Morgan's been embracing the dirtle lately in Cube.
Yeah, Mike actually told me the secret to draft your cube, and the first time I did it, I won that draft. So
I told you.
What's the secret?
Oh, we can't tell the secret off the air.
I mean, I
sir.
probably know what it is.
Off the air, sir.
I don't think you like the secret.
There are spies afoot.
Yeah.
You can't have them listening in.
You can't have the secret.
We don't want anybody listening to this podcast.
The secret ruins your cube, so I don't know.
Yeah, no one can know the secret. So that's everything for this week. If you want, you can follow us on Twitter. We're at YourEndStep. We also have an email address. It's atyourendstep@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/@YourEndStep. It's, as long as you can just say @YourEndStep, you'll probably be able to find us. But hey, we've got to tell you anyway. Also, subscribe to us on iTunes. You can search us at YourEndStep. You can give us a review if you want. Leave a little note, a little comment. We appreciate it. Also, you can find us on MTG Cast, which is a great place to find a lot of different podcasts. So about Magic the Gathering. So great place to find something new to listen to. Also, you can check out our lovely sponsor on Facebook. So Comic Town, you can find them at Comic Town Gaming Center, and so you can check out all of their events that are happening locally in the Columbus area. I believe the next big thing they have is States, which is going to be the next week of October. So not this week, but next week. So the 17th and 18th.
Yes.
So they're hosting it. So definitely check out their event for that if you want to come and get your banner for winning States. Star City Games States, of course. Not to get confused with TCG Player States, which is a completely different thing. So many states. But again, that is everything for this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.